Well, I have a very, very big grin on my face this morning. I know that's unusual for me to be smiling, but Elon was asked about Ron Barrett's thought that Tesla could hit $4 trillion in valuation. And Elon responded, well, we do need to knock the ball out of the park several times to achieve that value, but I think we can. We'll talk about the productivity numbers this morning. That's another reason why I have a smile on my face. I always love to see those numbers, and they beat handily. And even first-time employment claims were positive today. China numbers might be helping Tesla to have a strong start, according to one headline. And bond yields on the 10-year are down another 15 basis points this morning in the early going. Other than that, what would there be to be excited about? Oh, yeah, the market's up and so is Tesla. All right. If you missed last night's when Larry Goldberg and I discussed the takeaways from the Fed Q&A yesterday, don't miss it. Go back and see it. I'll try to remember to throw up a card later, but you can, go on the channel and just, find it from last night. There was 10 big takeaways from that Fed meeting, and most people didn't report them. I'm sorry. I watched other people's reports and they were like, well, it was just a nothing burger. He just said the same thing you always said. No, he did not. And that's why the market is so strong this morning and should continue strong unless there's another huge disruption from some other direction. Anyway, both of us concluded there will be no more interest rate hikes, and I think the market believes that as well, and other headlines that I saw. And, 10-year bonds dropping like crazy. We'll talk about that in a second. Okay. By the way, have I mentioned recently that that if you got a box like this in the mail, or a friend of you gave you a beautiful black box like this with a magnetic opening, and inside it looked like that, don't you think you'd be impressed? $25. PayPal.me/Randy Kirk. All the information is down below in the description if you want to find out if you buy quantities like 2 or 3 or more. And of course, you can get a free one if you join Patreon. All right. I have to admit, I missed one. Boy, I am shocked that I missed it. But I also want to tell you something. I'm going to be the first one to report it. I have scoured. I have looked it up under key phrases and keywords. Zero. Nobody else is reporting this. So this is why you watch this show early in the morning, is because I'm finding stuff that the other folks, I'm talking about, the top guys on CNBC are not finding. What did I find? Oh, it is the inversion, the 10-year, 2-year inversion has gone from being negative as much as 100 basis points. And as of this morning, it's only negative 30 basis points. It was 20 yesterday, but the 10-year is falling so fast that it's now up to 30 basis points difference. But this uninversion, I don't know if that's a word, but basically this inversion is now reversing. And I'm not sure that anybody knows what to make of all of this. As I mentioned last night in my call with Larry, this inversion has lasted really super long, and it's really a big, big inversion. And the 2-month inversion and the 3-month, and other people think that there's other inversions that matter and that predict recessions. I don't think it's predicting a recession at all. I don't think it has ever been about that this time. And economies change. And this economy is a far different economy than it was 20 or 30 years ago. As I mentioned again last night, we have a much older population. Instead of everybody being under 30, we now have everybody over 40. Instead of the wealth being distributed evenly throughout a lot of the economy, you have the wealth concentrated in the boomer population. And it matters, and because people spend their money differently when they're older, people save their money differently, people invest their money differently when they're older. And so I think you're going to see changes in some of these signals from over the years, and nobody's talking of, very few people are talking about that change. But this is an example of where we're now seeing this uninversion. And some people that I've read feel that when it uninverts, that's the real signal. Then the recession is coming for sure. I am sorry. I'm not buying it. I don't think it's happening. All right. So But I think everybody else was so focused on the 10-year that nobody's paying attention that this inversion has started to collapse. And now we're going to see. Maybe it collapses completely and re-inverts the way it's supposed to be. And what impact will that have on stuff? It's an interesting subject. I love it. I'm going to be following it. Okay. Overnight, the China Passenger Car Association said that Tesla sold 72,000 EVs made in China in October, up 0.6% from a year ago, down 2.6% from September. But of course, down a little, up a little, doesn't really matter. These are excellent numbers out of China, given the fact that we were just ramping up the Model 3s again. I think we'll be back up to record numbers in the next monthly report, probably somewhere around 80,000. 72,000 is not that far off of the 80,000, and maybe more in November. We'll see what happens, but those are excellent numbers. And some headlines this morning are saying that's part of the reason Tesla is up so strongly this morning. Those initial jobless claims that everybody cares about every single week came in at 210,000 last month. They were expected to go up a bit to 214,000. I'm sorry, they were 210,000 last month. They were expected to come in at 214, but they came in at 217,000. So that is another little piece of good news. We'll take the good news where we find it. The article, I think this was Reuters, though the labor market is gradually cooling, conditions remain tight, highlighted by the economy's enduring strength. The government reported on Wednesday that there were 1.5 job openings for every unemployed person in September. And of course, the normal thing would be that it would be, let's say, 7 job openings for every, the opposite. There would be more people looking for jobs than there were job openings. So we continue to have this strength in the job market. Productivity, here we go. All right. It was negative for months and months and months and quarters and quarters, because it's a quarterly release. Productivity was negative and very low for the last 3 years. Why? We've talked about this a million times. If you're new to the channel, why would productivity be low during a completely cattywampus supply chain problem that was following a horrible pandemic, and then there was this war that disrupted things like ammonia and fertilizer and things like that? Why would there have been low productivity for the last 3 years? Oh yeah, because it was chasing their tails, just trying to stay alive, and they couldn't spend any time or energy on productivity. So when things normalize, then productivity goes up. Well, last month it went up to 3.5. Last quarter went up to 3.5%, increasing by 3.5%. It's a massive change from the 1.7 decrease from the previous quarter. And now this quarter, the survey of economists was expecting a 4.3% increase, which would have been fantastic. But here's the report from the government. Non-farm business sector labor productivity increased 4.7%, beating the 4.3% in the third quarter of 2023, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Output increased 5.9%, and hours work increased 1.1%. And these are all seasonally adjusted. The increase in labor productivity is the highest rate since the third quarter of 2020. This is the third quarter of 2023. And at that point, it increased 5.7%. So this is even better than that. From the same quarter a year ago, non-farm business sector labor productivity increased 2.2% in the third quarter. Labor productivity, or output per hour, is calculated by dividing the index of real output by the index of hours worked by all workers, including employees, proprietors, and unpaid family workers. Unit labor costs in the non-farm business sector decreased by 0.8% in the third quarter of 2023, compared to an expected 0.8 increase, reflecting a 3.9% increase in hourly compensation and a 4.7% increase in productivity. Unit labor cost increased just 1.9% over the last 4 quarters. So now we're going to start seeing the unit labor cost decreasing on a regular basis. What does that do? That's disinflationary. So productivity is directly correlated with disinflation. And productivity now are at the highest numbers in 3 years. I've been reporting this to you for quarters now, almost the whole time that I've had the show, and saying when these productivity numbers became good again, because we're no longer having to find, one more employee because Susie quit, went over here, and then Joe, he's not working out very well anyway, and the 15 people that we called, none of them showed up even for the interview. And we have sign spinners outside the building, not asking for people to come in and buy, but asking for we need employees. That was a crazy time, and so productivity is going to be horrible. And now productivity is recovering, and it's going to show up in the disinflation and eventually in deflation, as I've been saying for a very, very long time. Well, Mercedes is now another legacy car company coming really, really late to the owned supercharger station business. They're starting to roll out a few stations this quarter. I cannot for the life of me figure out why they think coming to the party this late is a good idea. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. Are they trying to just make some money off of supercharger stations? Are they trying to make a statement? This makes zero sense to me. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you think. What do you think that Mercedes thinks they're going to do by opening up these stations? I just don't get it. Apple will be the big deal today. Apple's reporting after the close. It will impact markets if there's any big surprises. They've been in the news all week with new MacBooks and new other new products that they've been coming out with this week. We'll see, of course, what this impact is tonight. I will report tonight in my new show. Remember, we've got that new show. Larry Goldberg is now going to be my co-anchor on Monday nights on the new show. And now when I say nights, it's for about 5:10 California time is generally when this particular show comes out. And it'll be out tonight. We'll talk about the Apple earnings and other news that is coming later today. Remember that tomorrow night, because tomorrow's labor, it's the day when we report the labor numbers. Tomorrow night, I will be reporting those labor numbers. And then after my show tomorrow night, the Good News Friday show, then Cathie Wood will be on. If you want to watch her yourself, watch her, and then make notes, and then join Larry and I on Saturday morning. Whether you make notes or whether you watch her or not, join Larry and I, and we go over her report line by line on anything we see in there that we think makes a difference in the coming market, or especially as it relates to Tesla. All right, where are the markets now? Let me pick it up here and check it out. We have got Tesla up 4.86, almost up 5% this morning at $215.66 a share. The rest of the Dow's up 0.78, the Nasdaq's up a little over 1%. S&P is up over 1% this morning. That's pretty good. All of the Magnificent Seven are up except for Microsoft, which is down a little bit, but none of them are up close to 5%. I mean, NVIDIA is up 2%, but Tesla's up 5%. You see what I'm talking about? It's just that way. When Tesla screams, it screams up. And when the market goes down, Tesla goes down more. It's the way Tesla is. It's just part of the game. It's part of what makes it fun, sort of. All the Cathie Woods are exploding upward, which also happens when bond rates go down. You see this explosion upward. And that's part of the reason Tesla's up also today, is with bonds dropping radically over the last couple of days. That is going to help Tesla, now up 5.21%. Okay. And dollars. Oh, yeah, you guys want dollars too. Okay. Dow is up 263. The Nasdaq's up 162. The S&P is up 48. And Tesla's up $10.72, getting close to being up 11. And it is going straight up. There's no topping off on this number. Although, like Apple, for instance, is topping off a little bit. We'll see whether this bull market continues to go crazy this morning, but it's going to be a good day. Let's put it that way. All right, let's go ahead and look at those other numbers. What we have right now is we have the Bitcoin up 409 at almost exactly 35,000. We have the dollar firm We have gold up $3.40, but still under 2,000 at 1990. So it has fallen. That's a little, so people are not quite as anxious to get into safety as they were earlier this week. It feels like the Israeli conflict is moving along as good as you could hope for. Yeah, I think that's the way to put it. It's about as good as you could hope for. It's almost Goldilocks right now. No, you don't want to see anybody die. You don't need citizens in the Gaza to die, but the numbers are not crazy, and Israel seems to be able to so far manage this part of the conflict. So it's kind of not an issue right now. I guess you could say not an issue financially for the U.S. market. Oil is up a little bit this morning, a little over 81. I'm really happy to see it in low 80s. I hope it stays in the low 80s. That'd be great. I'd like to see it fall back into the 70s. That'd be better. And then bonds, here we go. We're down almost 13 basis points now on the 10-year at 4.663. If you follow me, you know that I believe that the floor on this is about 4.25. It's going to take a while to get there. We're going to do a little this on our way to 4.25, but then it's going to get stuck. In my opinion, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's going to get stuck at 4.25. And then we have the 2-month is only down 2 basis points. The 2-year is down 3.5 basis points. And so there, you're seeing a little bit of a reinversion to where it's only about 30 basis points difference at this point. And then popping back just for fun to Tesla, it's $10.50 up. Okay. I wanted to talk to you a little bit this morning about that Larry Goldberg. And when Larry Goldberg and I met last night to talk about the Powell, the Q&A, please, here's the card. You want to go back and check that out. I had 10 things that I found. Actually, there was 11. I kind of consolidated. Anyway, 10 or 11 things. Nobody else is reporting this. You do want to go back and check that out. You need to dig into some of these things, just like we do on Friday night with the Cathie Wood thing. Saturday morning, we dig into it because Cathie's not always right. And Randy and Larry are. We're always, well, okay, we're not always right either, but our combined experience, especially because we're both really old, our combined experience of watching financial markets for over 50 years, both of us, well over 50 years, we've been watching financial markets and owning companies all over the world. Larry's owned companies on 4 continents. I've sold the companies on 5. I have purchased product from 3 continents, as has Larry. We have wide experience in financial markets and in owning manufacturing companies. He was in software. I was in plastics. We bring some really unique analysis. And as a manufacturer, I bring some unique analysis with regard to Elon Musk and manufacturing businesses, because yes, I was a little tiny manufacturer with 100 employees and only 5 million in sales, but those 5 million in sales were to Target and Kmart and Walmart and go down the line. And I've had 30 years experience selling to the majors in the plastics business, in the bicycle industry, okay, of all places. Anyway, one last thing, it is time, really, it's time. You've been thinking about it. You've been thinking about gifts. It is now November. Come on, guys. I know most of us that are listening to the show are over 55 and we're guys. And I don't know about you, I now just send money to all my grandkids. I'm not looking for presents, but this is just an exception to the rule. You want to get this. You probably have grandkids. You might have kids. You might have friends. You might have coworkers who, for this, it would be just a fun Christmas gift. And they're $25 each. And you'd get 2 of them for 45 and 3 of them for 65. And if you want to buy 10, as somebody did on, what was that, Tuesday, I think, you want to buy 10? Okay, then $220. That's my deal right now. All right. I think I'm going to want to get this up so you guys can see it. So it has been great. Join Patreon. It's been great talking to you.